Ambassador John Martinez stood in the middle of the grand meeting chamber. The Galactic Council had built this place to impress people, and it worked. Crystal walls reached up to a ceiling so high that clouds formed near the top. Lights from 1,000 different technologies danced across surfaces that changed color with every movement. But John did not feel impressed today. He felt tired. For 3 months, he had sat in this chamber every day. For 3 months, he had tried to make peace with beings from 47 different worlds. And for 3 months, he had watched as their demands grew more and more unfair. The Zephyrian delegate clicked its way to the center of the room. This alien looked like a giant praying mantis made of blue crystal. Its compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights in 1,000 tiny rainbows. When it spoke, the sound came out as clicks and buzzes that the translation device turned into flat, emotionless words. The United Species Alliance has reached its final decision. The Zephyrian said, "These are our terms for peace with humanity." John's assistant, Lisa Chen, sat next to him at the curved table. She had been taking notes throughout the negotiations, but now her fingers stopped moving over her datapad. Something in the alien's tone made her nervous. A holographic display lit up in the center of the chamber. John read the terms quickly, and his heart sank with each line. Earth must share all jump drive technology with the Alliance. Humanity must accept limits on how many warships they could build. Human colonies in the Outer Rim would come under Alliance control. Trade routes through human space would be managed by a council committee. The list went on and on. Additionally, the Zephyrian continued, humanity will provide technical advisors to all Alliance members. These advisors will serve at the pleasure of their host governments for periods of no less than 20 Earth years. Lisa leaned close to John and whispered, "They want slaves, not advisors." John kept his face calm. His father had taught him never to show anger during negotiations, but inside, he felt a cold fury building. Humanity had come to the stars in peace. They had shared medicine that saved billions of alien lives. They had built trade networks that made everyone richer. They had even helped defend weaker species from pirates and raiders. And this was their thanks. The Altarian ambassador spoke next. This alien looked like a giant snake with arms, covered in scales that changed from green to purple as it moved. "These terms are quite reasonable," it hissed. "Humanity is young among the stars. You need guidance from older, wiser species." "Guidance?" John asked quietly. "Is that what you call taking our technology and controlling our worlds?" The Vorthan delegate, a being that looked like a mass of gray tentacles with eyes, gurgled its response. "You humans spread too fast. You build too much. You need limits." John stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. "Let me understand this correctly," he said. "You want our jump drives. You want our colonies. You want our people as servants. And in return, you offer us what exactly?" "Peace," the Zephyrian said simply. "The alternative is war with all the combined forces of the Alliance." The chamber fell silent. This was the moment John had dreaded. The moment when all the polite words ended and the real threats began. He looked around the chamber at all the different aliens. Some watched with what might have been sympathy. Others showed clear satisfaction. Most seemed indifferent, as if the fate of an entire species meant nothing to them. "I need to discuss this with Earth," John said finally. "There is nothing to discuss," the Zephyrian replied. "You have one standard day to accept our terms. After that, humanity will face the consequences of defying the United Species Alliance." John nodded once, gathered his datapad, and turned to Lisa. "We're leaving," he said quietly. As they walked toward the exit, John heard the whispers starting behind them. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humanity had no choice but to surrender. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Every being present watched as John Martinez stopped at the exit and turned back to face them. His dark eyes moved from one alien face to another, taking in their expressions. Some looked confused. Others seemed pleased with themselves. A few appeared worried. Lisa Chen stood beside him, her datapad held tight against her chest. She had worked with John for 5 years and knew him better than most. The calm look on his face meant something big was about to happen. "Before I go," John said, his voice carrying clearly across the vast chamber, "I want to make sure everyone here understands what just happened." The Zephyrian delegate shifted on its 4 legs, making a sound like breaking glass. "What happened is simple, human. You have been given terms. You will accept them." John smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that made several of the smaller species representatives lean back in their seats. "No," John said simply. "We won't." The chamber erupted in noise. Dozens of different languages filled the air as the universal translators struggled to keep up. The Altarian ambassador rose up on its coils, scales flashing angry red. "You dare refuse the will of the United Species Alliance." The snake-like being hissed. "You are 1 species against 47. You have no choice." John raised his hand, and surprisingly, the noise died down. Even beings who had traveled between stars for thousands of years wanted to hear what this young species would say. 3 months ago, humanity came here in good faith, John began. We offered to share our medical knowledge. We proposed fair trade agreements. We even suggested joint exploration missions to the unexplored regions. He paused, looking directly at the Zephyrian, and at every turn, you demanded more. Our jump drives, our colonies, our freedom. Tell me, when did this stop being a peace negotiation and start being a list of surrender terms? The Vorthan delegate gurgled angrily. You humans think too highly of yourselves. You have been in space for barely 50 of your years. We have traveled the stars for millennia. You should be grateful for our guidance. Grateful. Lisa spoke up, surprising everyone, including John. Her usually quiet voice rang with anger. We cured the Nexari plague that was killing millions. We set up the trade routes that made your economies grow. We fought pirates who were attacking your merchant ships. And you want us to be grateful for demands to give up everything we've built. The counselor from Kepler, a small furry being who rarely spoke, stood up on its hind legs. But what will you do? If you refuse, the Alliance will cut off all trade with Earth. You will be isolated. John's smile grew wider. Will we? Something in his tone made the chamber grow quiet again. The human ambassador walked to the center of the room, his footsteps echoing in the crystal space. For 50 years, humanity has worked with all of you. We maintained your jump gates. We wrote the code for your financial networks. We served in your hospitals and schools. We became part of the fabric that holds this galactic community together. He turned in a slow circle, meeting the eyes of each delegate. So yes, you can try to isolate us. But ask yourselves this: what happens to your civilization when we simply leave? The Zephyrian's translator made a sound like grinding metal. You threaten us? No, John said calmly. I'm simply stating facts. Humanity withdraws from these negotiations. We will return to our space and wait to see what the Alliance decides to do next. He walked back to Lisa, who was trying not to smile at the shocked faces around them. As they reached the door, John turned one last time. Oh, and one more thing, he added. You have 24 hours to contact us if you want to discuss reasonable terms. After that, we'll assume you've made your choice. The massive doors closed behind the human delegation with a sound like thunder. In the chamber, 47 species sat in stunned silence, beginning to realize they might have made a terrible mistake. Admiral Kate Foster stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance, reading the encrypted message for the 3rd time. The massive warship floated at the edge of Council space, its dark hull reflecting the light of distant stars. Around her, officers worked at their stations in tense silence. The message was short and clear. Diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council have ended. Execute Protocol 7. Authorization. Martinez, J. Earth Command confirms. Kate folded the message and looked at her bridge crew. These men and women had served with her for years. They knew what Protocol 7 meant, even if they had hoped never to see it activated. Commander Wright, she called to her second-in-command. Alex Wright looked up from his station. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. Yes, Admiral. Send the signal to all human vessels. Protocol 7 is now active. Immediate withdrawal to designated positions. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew this moment would change everything. All ships, ma'am. Alex asked, though he already knew the answer. All ships. Merchant vessels, science ships, patrol boats, everything with a human crew. They have 6 hours to reach minimum safe distance from alien ports. Alex nodded and began typing commands. Within seconds, a coded burst transmission went out to every human ship in the galaxy. The message traveled faster than light, reaching vessels thousands of light years away in moments. Across the galaxy, human captains read the same orders. On the trade station orbiting Vega Prime, Captain Maria Santos called her crew to emergency stations. Her cargo ship had been loading alien goods for Earth markets. Now those goods would stay on the station. Leave everything, she ordered. We launch in 30 minutes. On the research vessel Einstein, Dr. James Park was in the middle of a joint experiment with Altarian scientists. The Protocol 7 alert flashed on his screen. He stood up slowly, gathering his personal data cores. I'm sorry, he told his confused alien colleagues. I have to go. But the experiment, the lead Altarian protested. We are so close to breakthrough. James shook his head sadly. Maybe another time. One by one, human ships began leaving their assigned positions. Merchants abandoned profitable trade routes. Scientists packed up decades of research. Engineers shut down systems they had maintained for years. The Galactic Council noticed within hours. Emergency meetings were called as reports flooded in. Human ships were leaving everywhere, all at once. Trade goods sat undelivered. Maintenance schedules were abandoned. Joint projects ground to a halt. On Earth's Strategic Command Station, Director Maya Rodriguez watched the withdrawal on massive tactical displays. Colored dots representing human ships moved steadily away from alien space, forming new patterns as they headed for predetermined rally points. Phase 1 is almost complete, reported her aide, Ryan Cooper. 90% of our vessels have acknowledged and are moving to safe zones. Any response from the Council? Maya asked. They're sending messages to all our ships, demanding explanations. No ship has answered. Maya nodded. This was part of the plan. Silence was more powerful than any words right now. On trading stations across the galaxy, alien merchants watched in confusion as human shops closed. The humans simply packed their essential items and left. No explanations, no arguments, no negotiations. They just walked away. The financial networks began showing the first signs of strain. Human-written algorithms that had run smoothly for decades started shutting down as their maintenance codes expired. Backup systems failed to activate because the human technicians who knew how to fix them were gone. In hospitals on a dozen worlds, alien doctors discovered that critical equipment was failing. The human medical staff who understood these machines had quietly departed, taking their knowledge with them. Ambassador Stan of the Vorthan Empire was the first to understand what was happening. He called the council chairman directly. They're not attacking us, Stan said, his voice heavy with realization. They're simply leaving, and they're taking everything they built with them. The chairman didn't understand yet. None of them did. But they would learn soon enough that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their warships or their soldiers. It was their absence. 3 days passed since the humans began their withdrawal. At first, many aliens thought it was just a political move. They expected the humans to come back, to ask for new negotiations. But as each hour passed, more systems began to fail. The first major problem appeared in the Nexus Gate network. These massive structures allowed ships to jump between star systems instantly. For 20 years, human engineers had maintained the complex quantum calculations that kept the gates stable. Captain Zorkith of the Altarian merchant fleet was the first to experience what happened without those engineers. His ship approached the gate between Altair and Rigel, a route he had traveled hundreds of times. "Activate jump sequence," he ordered. The gate powered up, its ring glowing with blue energy. But something was wrong. The energy field flickered and sparked. Warning lights flashed across Zorkith's control panel. "Gate stability at 30% and falling," his navigator reported, fear in his voice. "Jump calculations are corrupted." Zorkith had no choice. Abort. Full reverse. His ship pulled back just as the gate's energy field collapsed. The massive ring went dark, becoming nothing more than dead metal floating in space. Within hours, similar reports came from across the galaxy. Jump gates were failing everywhere. The network that connected the galaxy was breaking down. On Earth, Director Maya Rodriguez watched the reports with a calm expression. Her command center hummed with activity as human operators monitored the situation. "Gate 17 has gone offline," Ryan Cooper reported. "That's the 5th one today." "How many remain operational?" Maya asked. "About 60%, but falling fast. Without maintenance, they'll all fail within 2 weeks." Maya nodded. This was exactly what they had planned. The aliens had never bothered to learn how the gates really worked. They had left that to the humans. The financial crisis hit next. The Galactic Trade Network suddenly froze. Transactions stopped processing. Account balances became inaccessible. The complex AI systems that managed quadrillions of credits worth of trade simply stopped responding. On the banking world of Prinax IV, Director Vexhai frantically tried to restart the systems. The insectoid banker's multiple arms flew over control panels, entering command after command. "Why won't it respond?" Vexhai chittered in frustration. His assistant, a younger Prinaxian, looked up from her screen. "The core protocols are encrypted. The access codes died when the human administrators left." "Can't we break the encryption?" The humans used quantum-locked algorithms. Without their key codes, it would take our computers about 10,000 years to crack them. The medical crisis began on the same day. Across the galaxy, alien hospitals discovered that their most advanced equipment was shutting down. Surgical robots froze mid-operation. Diagnostic scanners showed only error messages. Life support systems switched to minimal backup modes. On Kepler II, Dr. Thren watched helplessly as a regeneration tank failed. The patient inside, a young Keplerian who had been growing new organs after an accident, was now in danger. "The tank won't respond," Nurse Blix reported. "The human technician who ran these systems left 3 days ago." "Can we contact him?" "No one can contact any humans. They've all gone silent." Communication networks began to fail next. The quantum entanglement relays that allowed instant communication across thousands of light years started dropping connections. Messages that once traveled instantly now took hours, then days. Some never arrived at all. The Galactic Council held emergency session after emergency session. Each meeting brought worse news. 40% of jump gates are offline, reported the Zephyrian delegate. Trade has dropped by 60%. Hospital equipment failures have caused thousands of deaths. Council Chairman Zarkthen looked around the chamber. For the first time in his long life, he felt genuine fear. How did we become so dependent on one species? Ambassador Esthan of the Vorthan Empire stood slowly. "We didn't notice because they made it look easy. They fixed our problems, maintained our systems, improved our technology, and we took it all for granted." "What do we do now?" asked the Altarian ambassador. Esthan's tentacles drooped in what his species showed as defeat. "We learn what the humans already know. We cannot survive without them. The question is, will they come back?" Ambassador Esthan of the Vorthan Empire sat alone in his private chamber, studying data files that most beings never bothered to read. His species had dealt with humans longer than any other, going back 45 years to first contact. Now, as systems failed across the galaxy, Hess then searched for answers in those old records. What he found changed everything. The patterns were subtle at first. A human engineer here, a technician there, small improvements to existing systems, helpful suggestions that made things work better. Over decades, these small changes had grown into something much bigger. Hess then called up a holographic display showing the Galactic Trade Network from 50 years ago, before humans arrived. The image showed simple connections between worlds, basic computer systems, and limited communication. Then he displayed the current network. The difference was stunning. Every major system now had human code at its core. Every important trade route used human-designed navigation. Every financial institution ran on human-built quantum computers. The aliens had provided the basic framework, but humans had rebuilt everything from the inside. By the depths, Stan whispered to himself, they didn't just join our civilization, they became its backbone. He rushed to the council chambers, his tentacles moving faster than they had in years. The other ambassadors were there, arguing loudly about the growing crisis. The Pronaxians demand we force the humans back, shouted the insectoid delegate. With what fleet? Countered the Altarian. Half our warships can't even leave port without human navigation systems. Esthan slapped a tentacle on the table, getting everyone's attention. You're all missing the real problem, he said. Let me show you what I've discovered. He activated the main display and began his presentation. The other ambassadors watched in growing horror as Sithan revealed the truth. Look at this medical station in the Vega system, he said, highlighting a complex on the screen. We thought it was an Altarian facility. But see here. 70% of the staff were human. The operating systems, human design. The research data, managed by human scientists. He switched to another image. The manufacturing plants on Rigel Vui. We believe the Zephyrians ran these factories. But look closer. Human supervisors in every department. Human quality control systems. Human supply chain management. That's impossible. The Zephyrian delegate clicked nervously. We would have noticed. Would we? S then challenged. They didn't take control by force. They simply made themselves useful, fixed problems, improved efficiency, and we were happy to let them do it. The counselor from the small world of Terran spoke up. You're saying we gave them control of everything? No, Stan replied grimly. We begged them to take control. Every time something broke, we called the humans. Every time we needed something improved, we hired human consultants. We did this to ourselves. Council Chairman Zark then leaned forward. How bad is it really? Stan's skin color shifted to deep purple, showing extreme distress. I ran the calculations. Without human support, our technological civilization has perhaps 3 months before complete collapse. Food distribution will fail first, then medical care, then power generation. But we ran the galaxy before humans arrived, protested the Nexari ambassador. Did we? Stan pulled up another display. Look at our growth before and after human contact. Before humans, slow expansion, limited trade, constant technical problems. After humans, rapid development, integrated networks, solutions to problems we'd had for centuries. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They hadn't just become dependent on humanity. They had let humanity rebuild their entire civilization. The worst part, then continued, is that they never hid what they were doing. They openly shared their knowledge, improved our systems, integrated with our societies. We just never paid attention to how completely we were surrendering control. The Altarian ambassador's scales had turned pale green. What you're saying is that they conquered us without firing a single shot. No, S then corrected. They helped us. They made our lives better. And now they're showing us the price of taking that help for granted. Outside the chamber windows, another jump gate flickered and died. Captain Dan Peterson sat in the command chair of the U.S. Retribution, staring at the orders on his screen. He had read them 5 times, and they still seemed unreal. Beside him, his weapons officer, Lieutenant Emma Davis, waited quietly for his response. "These coordinates," Dan said slowly, "they're for the Phantom Fleet." Emma nodded. "Yes, sir. Command wants us to escort civilian ships there for integration." The Phantom Fleet. Every species in the galaxy had heard rumors about it. A secret human military force hidden somewhere in dark space. Some said it had 100 ships. Others claimed 1,000. But no alien had ever seen it. "Prepare for jump," Dan ordered. "But Emma, I don't think anyone outside humanity understands what the Phantom Fleet really is." 3 hours later, the Retribution emerged from jump space at the classified coordinates. What Dan and his crew saw took their breath away, even though they knew what to expect. Ships filled space as far as sensors could reach. But these weren't just warships. The Phantom Fleet was something else entirely. "My God," Emma whispered. "It's not a fleet. It's a civilization." Massive factory ships, each one 10 kilometers long, floated in perfect formation. Around them, agricultural vessels grew food in vast hydroponic bays, hospital ships that could treat millions, research vessels pursuing every field of science, school ships where children learned and played, mining vessels that could harvest entire asteroids. And yes, there were warships, hundreds of them, but they were just one part of something much bigger. Admiral Susan Grant appeared on their communication screen. "Welcome to Haven Station, Captain Peterson. Bring your civilians to docking platform 7. As they approached, Dan saw smaller ships everywhere. Family transports, entertainment vessels, art galleries floating in space, parks under crystalline domes. It was as if someone had taken human civilization and made it mobile. On the alien monitoring station at the edge of Council space, Senior Observer Crix noticed the energy signatures first. His 6 eyes widened as his instruments detected movement in a sector that should have been empty. "Supervisor," he called. "Massive energy readings in grid 779. The Nexary supervisor hurried over. "That's empty space. Your instruments must be." He stopped. The readings were real. Something huge was moving out there. "Launch probe," the supervisor ordered. The probe's data came back quickly, and what it showed made both aliens step back from their screens. Ships, thousands of them, moving in perfect formation through the void. "Alert the council," the supervisor said, his voice shaking. "The humans, they have a fleet we never imagined." Word spread quickly through the Galactic Council. Emergency sessions were called as more probes confirmed the sightings. The Phantom Fleet was real, and it was enormous. But the true shock came when they realized what they were looking at. "These aren't military formations," reported the Altarian defense minister. "Look at the ship types. Food production, manufacturing, research facilities. They've built a mobile civilization." Council Chairman Zarkthen felt a chill run through his carapace. "You mean they can leave?" Ambassador Esthen finished the thought. "All of them. Every human, everywhere. They can pack up their entire species and go." The implications hit like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war. They had prepared for complete separation. They could take their knowledge, their technology, their potential, and simply fly away into the dark between galaxies. "Where would they go?" asked the Zephyrian delegate. "Anywhere," Sten replied. "Nowhere. It doesn't matter. They're showing us they don't need planets. They don't need us. They can exist entirely on their own." The Vorthan military commander spoke up. "We could stop them. Attack before they leave." "With what?" Esthen asked bitterly. "Ships that can't navigate without human systems. Weapons that require human maintenance. Besides, look at the escort warships. We'd lose half our fleet just approaching them." On Earth, Director Maya Rodriguez received confirmation that the Phantom Fleet was now visible to alien sensors. She turned to her staff. Phase 2 complete. They now understand we can leave any time we choose. Let's see if that changes their attitude about negotiations. Supreme Counselor Zarkthen had never called a closed session before. In his 90 years of service, all council meetings have been open to representatives from every member world. But tonight was different. Tonight, only the 7 most powerful species would meet. The chamber was smaller than the Grand Hall, dimly lit and secure from all surveillance. As the leaders filed in, Zarkthen noticed something he had never seen before on their faces. Fear. The Altarian Supreme Commander coiled nervously in his seat. The Zephyrian High Minister's crystal shell had turned a dull gray. Even the usually calm Vorthan Elder showed signs of distress, skin patterns shifting rapidly. I've seen the economic projections, Zarkthen began without ceremony. If the humans maintain their withdrawal, we face complete collapse within 3 months. The Pernaxian Trademaster chittered anxiously. My world depends on the jump gates for food imports. Without them, we'll face starvation in weeks, not months. The medical situation is worse, added the Nexari health coordinator. 40% of our advanced equipment has already failed. Diseases we conquered decades ago are returning. The Altarian commander's scales flickered between colors. Can we force them back? Military action. With what fleet? The Vorthan Elder's tentacles drooped. I've reviewed our military capabilities without human support. We'd be fighting with half our ships grounded and outdated weapons. Meanwhile, they have that mobile civilization we just discovered. The Phantom Fleet, whispered the Kepler representative. Our analysts estimate over 10,000 vessels. It's not just military power. It's complete self-sufficiency. Zarkthen pulled up a holographic display. Look at these numbers. Power generation down 30%. Communication networks failing. Food distribution breaking down. And it's accelerating. But we survived before humans arrived. The Zephyrian protested, though his voice lacked conviction. Did we? The Vorthan Elder activated his own display. I studied our pre-contact history. We were stagnant. The same technology for centuries. The same problems unsolved. The humans didn't just join us. They pushed us forward. The room fell silent. Each leader remembered how their worlds had changed. Problems that had seemed impossible suddenly had solutions. Technologies that had plateaued for generations suddenly advanced. They had thought it was natural progress. Now they knew better. We made a terrible error, Zarkthen admitted. We saw their eagerness to help as weakness, their offers of partnership as attempts to gain favor. We thought we were in control. The Altarian commander's voice was bitter. Instead, they'd made us dependent, like addicts. No, the Vorthan Elder corrected, like children. They helped us grow, solved our problems, improved our lives. And we never learned to do it ourselves. The Pernaxian Trademaster leaned forward. What do they want? They must want something. That's just it, Zarkthen said heavily. They wanted partnership, equal treatment, respect. We offered them servitude instead. A junior aide entered quietly and handed Zarkthen a datapad. The counselor's expression grew even more concerned as he read. New report. 17 more jump gates have failed. The colony on Syrian IV is requesting emergency food supplies, but no ships can reach them. The banking system on 3 core worlds has completely crashed. We have to contact them, the Nexari said desperately. Apologize. Offer new terms. They gave us 24 hours, Zarkthen reminded them. That was 4 days ago. Every attempt to communicate has been met with silence. The Kepler representative, smallest among them, spoke up. I've been thinking about their ambassador's words. He said we had 24 hours to contact them for reasonable terms. Not surrender. Not the demands we made. Reasonable terms. You think they're still willing to negotiate? I think they're waiting to see if we've learned our lesson. Zarkthen stood slowly. Then we need to decide. Do we continue pretending we have power over them? Or do we admit the truth, that we need humanity far more than they need us. The chamber fell silent again. Outside, another jump gate flickered and died, cutting off 3 more star systems from the galactic network. Time was running out. Ambassador John Martinez walked back into the great chamber of the Galactic Council exactly 2 weeks after he had left. This time, only he and Lisa Chen represented humanity. No guards, no support staff, just 2 humans facing 47 alien species. The difference in the room was striking. Gone was the arrogance, the dismissive attitudes, the superior looks. Every alien face showed anxiety, respect, and something else John hadn't seen before: hope. Council Chairman Zarkthan stood as they entered. It was a gesture of respect the Council had never shown humans before. Ambassador Martinez, Zarkthan began, his voice carefully controlled. "Thank you for returning. We need to talk." John nodded and took his seat. Lisa set up a small projector beside him. The silence stretched until John finally spoke. "2 weeks ago, you gave humanity ultimatums. You demanded our technology, our colonies, our freedom. Today, I'm here to discuss terms. But these are our terms, not yours." The Zephyrian delegate started to speak, but Zarkthan raised a limb to silence him. "We're listening, Ambassador." John activated the projector. A holographic document appeared in the center of the chamber, visible to all. First, the United Human Systems will maintain complete sovereignty over all human worlds, colonies, and space stations. No external control, no oversight committees, no limitations on expansion. The aliens remained silent. 2 weeks ago, this would have caused an uproar. Now they simply nodded. Second, technology sharing will be voluntary and mutual. We'll continue to help maintain and improve galactic infrastructure, but as partners, not servants. Any technology we share, we receive equal value in return. The Altarian ambassador's scales shifted nervously, and the jump drive technology will remain human property, John said firmly. However, we'll continue operating the jump gate network for all species, as we have been doing. Third, John continued, military autonomy. Humanity will maintain whatever defense forces we deem necessary. No restrictions, no oversight. But we offer this: a mutual defense pact. An attack on any council member becomes an attack on all, including humanity. The Vorthan Elder's tentacles moved in what John had learned meant agreement. That's more than fair. Fourth, economic integration. We'll restore all systems and networks, but with new management structures, joint human-alien teams, equal representation, shared responsibility. You'll learn how everything works this time. Lisa added quietly, no more black boxes, no more depending without understanding. Fifth, John's voice softened slightly, cultural exchange, real exchange. Students, scientists, artists, moving freely between worlds, learning from each other, growing together. The small Kepler representative stood. These terms, they're what we should have offered from the beginning. John smiled, the first genuine smile any alien had seen from him in weeks. Yes, they are. The question is, have you learned why? Zarkthan looked around the chamber, seeing nods from every delegation. We have, Ambassador. We've learned that partnership means mutual respect. That help freely given is more powerful than service demanded. That wisdom isn't measured in years among the stars, but in how you treat others. And most importantly, John prompted, that humanity's greatest strength isn't your technology or your fleet. The chairman continued, it's your willingness to help others grow. We nearly destroyed that gift with our arrogance. John stood and extended his hand to Zarkthan. After a moment's hesitation, the alien reached out with one of his limbs and attempted the human gesture of shaking hands. Then we have an agreement, John said. Systems will be restored within 72 hours. The jump gates will come back online. Medical equipment will function again. But this time, your people will work alongside ours, learning, understanding, participating. As news of the agreement spread, changes began immediately. Human ships reversed course, returning to their posts. Engineers began bringing systems back online. But now, alien assistants stood beside them, learning the secrets they had never bothered to understand before. The galaxy had survived its greatest crisis, and in doing so, had learned its most valuable lesson. True power comes not from dominance, but from indispensability earned through service, respect, and partnership. The age of human integration was ending. The age of true galactic partnership was about to begin.